moment, there are these tiny little things. You could talk about a flower, you could talk about a leaf, and you realize that every small thing takes on a life of its own when you try to describe it. As you become aware of the magnitude of life that you're coming across. And that's just a fragment. So you wonder, if such a small thing can have so much life inscribed into it, how do you describe an entire garden of trees? You can't describe it. Our language is so small to describe something as big as life. And it heightens, I suppose, your appreciation for the cumulative small moments. For it's in those moments when we realize our story is based around something higher, deeper, kinder, simpler, grander. It's just not very clear what that something is. But that's okay. Life isn't always clear. That lack of clarity, it's a chance. Or an opportunity, you know? We're told we have this chance, but we're not told how long it is. This deadline, this expiration date, it helps us be more present in the moment, to make the most of it, because that's all we're guaranteed. You know, I don't believe that we're able to be at peace if we're not living in the moment. For if you're not living in the moment, where are you living? Either in the past or the future? Yes. There has to be a balance. And the balance between the past and the future is the present. For it's the only time that takes into account who you have been and who you have yet to be. Guess you're right. Now, what do you think about death? Since you asked me about life. Well, the easiest way to appreciate death is to appreciate the value of a deadline. You wouldn't get everything done if you had forever to do it, would you? But don't you think it's sad that no matter how gifted or intelligent, everyone flatlines at zero? Yes, it's sad and meaningful. It reminds us that no one can complete their own story, for we are all wrapped up in a much larger cosmic story. And don't get me wrong, I don't think humans were created for death. And deep down, I don't think we think so either. That's quite literally unattainable, though. The most impossible thing to do right now is to not die. That's the story of humanity, isn't it? Seeking the secrets not to die. For all of humanity, all of human history, is riddled with attempts to outlive death. As if there's some sort of outrage that our existence has to be but a spark that is gone in an instant, as opposed to a beam of light that has no end. I guess it brings about this sort of realism, in the way that while life has beauty, it also has barbed wire. And pretending the barbed wire doesn't exist won't make it go away. Pleasure and pain, intrinsically intertwined. It does seem that the more people experience pleasure and pain, the more synonymous the two words become. Sorrow and rejoicing, you know, in those truly deep individuals. Those individuals who are truly alive. They almost seem to laugh and cry in a single sigh. You know, one thing that I think society talks a lot about is the light at the end of the tunnel, right? The idea of a monk sitting on the side of a mountain when a boy came up and asked, how do I become happy? And so if we equate this tunnel to existing in a state that is not joy, of feeling nothing at all, then the more we try to reach that light, reach the perfect version of our lives that we have defined for ourselves, the further and further it goes away, because we're never satisfied with where we end up. And the monk sitting on the side of the mountain gave the boy a teaspoon with a drop of oil. And they said, "Go up this mountain. There's another monk up there. He will tell you how to become happy, but don't drop the oil." And I guess perfectionism is something I know we both struggle with. This concept of once I get there, I'll be happy. If I'm perfect, I'll be happy. I'll be worth it. All of these things. And as the boy climbed up the stairs, the faster and faster he went. The more you try to chase this light, the quicker your mind goes, and you'll be thinking of all the ways in which you might not reach this light. And that's when he started running as fast as he could, and the faster he went, the harder it was to stop. Or in all the ways you could reach that light. If I studied 5 more hours today, if I exercised this much more, if I ate this many calories, if I did this much more. It's not healthy. And when he did reach the top, when he did stop, well, it wasn't gradual. So I have to stop myself. I have to remind myself that I have a bit of control over this light, this ideal version of myself, for I have defined it. I have created it. And I am not going to let this light go any further away. But at this moment, I'm not going to try to go towards that light, because that has not caused me any good things. You know, there are some people who, despite being kicked down by the worst of humans, by the worst of waste, their meaning is not compromised. Yet some people get everything they ever wanted and find nothing but emptiness at the top. And as you stay there, as you look at the tunnel walls, you realize that the light at the end of the tunnel, that this ideal of being perfect isn't always the right goal. And you start to realize that it's okay, and it's totally acceptable if the only light you have with you is this tiny, tiny lantern. And you sit down on the floor, and you start to notice. And the monk looked at the boy and asked, "Were you focused on not spilling the oil?" And the boy said yes. And the monk replied, "But did you see the flowers? The flowers all over the floor. Young one, the purpose of life is not the end goal. It's the way to get there, to enjoy every step, every moment of loss and love. It's about developing a deeper appreciation than just a to-do list of life. For otherwise, you'll get jobs done, but you won't be happy doing it. For otherwise, you'll just be obsessed about getting to the top. And then you get there, and you're like, so what? You missed all the beautiful things." So maybe it's just about finding joy where you are. And the joy, it's just sunlight or song. The dynamic moment of coming across a soul you've never met before. Or listening to the birds. I love it because even on my sad days, it brings me joy. To make people smile, that brings me joy. And it's just the most overwhelming feeling of light in your chest. And I guess it's not even really an emotion. It's kind of a state of being that feels like peace. And it's not in these grand giant moments, but instead in the cumulative small ones, where you can only be the type of person who embodies these grand scale giant moments if prior to those moments you learned how to truly live, how to appreciate and value the things that are worth appreciating and valuing. It's to not belittle the conversation that isn't in the spotlight. For it's actually when the spotlight isn't present that you start to realize the increasing brightness of the soul that is across from you. And if you're lucky, perhaps the increasing brightness of the soul that is within you. Thank you.